Last night in his State of the Union address, the president called for net neutrality. He did, he said we need to keep a free and open internet. What does that mean? How does that work? Well, you got John Thune out there coming up with this, what I think is a phony net neutrality bill. He's calling it Title X or Title 10 because Title 2 is genuine net neutrality. It's been applied to telephone companies for 60 years. And basically what it says is you can't listen in on someone's phone call and charge them a different price depending on who they're talking to. And if that happens, and if that is applied to the internet, it will mean that that Comcast, which is run by one of the most right-wing families, owned by one of the most right-wing families in America, can't observe where you are going on the internet and speed up or slow down or charge you more or less for going to, say, the Daily Caller versus Think Progress, or the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.org versus DemocraticUnderground.com. But Carrie Lukas, I suspect, would take issue with my characterization of this. She is the managing director of the Independent Women's Forum and the co-author of Liberty is No War on Women. Her newest article is titled, which is over at the IWF.org blog, What's at Stake for Women in the Net Neutrality Debate. Carrie, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me on, Tom.
So here's what I don't understand. Why John Thune and these other Republicans, why are they more interested in doing the bidding of 7 multi-billion-dollar corporations in the United States than in what's in the interest of the American people?
That's not a loaded question at
all. No,
it's
a genuine question.
Well, I think, it's funny the way you kind of describe it, because obviously this is a complicated issue. It's really easy to get lost in the weeds. There's so many different players on who is the regulatory agency and what's the correct comparison. And, this is the first time I've heard it really compared to listening in on a phone call. It's because we all know that the internet isn't really like a phone. It's very different. It's not just a question of who's calling you and what are you talking about. The question is what kind of data is coming through.
How is that different?
How it's very different because you and I can talk and my voice is going to be just as heavy or take just as much bandwidth as anybody else's. But it's very different when we're talking about if somebody's streaming video versus if they just want to read, they want to read articles.
Well, hang on just a second, Carrie. Let's just define terms here. What the president is calling for is what's called Title II status under the FCC laws, which is called common carrier status. You have the same thing in trucking. Common carrier status means in the trucking industry, for example, if you're moving and maybe you're still living in Europe. I'm not sure where you're calling from, but you've moved around a fair amount. When you move, the trucking company, they can charge you different insurance rates, right? But they can't say, I want to know if this hutch that we are moving or this coffee table that we're moving is a $5,000 antique, in which case I'm going to charge you a lot more to move it, or if it's just a $50 IKEA table. They charge you based on the weight. And that's the only way that they can charge you. That's called common carrier status. Just like with the telephone company, you can be charged on the number of calls you make or the number of hours you make, but not on who you're calling or why you're calling them. They used to be able to do that. There used to be an exception to the common carrier status where they could charge you more for business calls. Remember that?
Yeah, but Tom, you certainly can pay more on how fast you want that delivered.
Sure, absolutely. Right? You pay for content. For volume. Excuse me. But that's consistent with Title II. That is part of Title II.
Well, but the idea that you can kind of pick and choose in the same way we've been able to, and we haven't as much as you would hope, been able to pick and choose what kind of packages you want on television. I don't have to pay for HBO,
which is not a common carrier. Right.
Well, yeah, but
that's what Comcast wants to do. They want to make it so, here's your basic internet package. It's $35 a year. If you want to be able to visit news websites, that'll be an extra $10 a year. If you want to be able to stream video, that'll be an extra $30 a year. If you want to visit the porn sites, that's an extra $70 a year. If you want to, whatever, and they want to do it the same way that cable is done, and it seems to be crazy.
Well, why? I don't understand why that's crazy. If I don't want to have to pay extra. If I, if somebody, if I
don't want to have to pay extra too, and that's what the Comcast wants to do. They want to charge me extra.
But Tom, but this is the type of thing. I think the mistake is always made that you assume if you outlaw price differentials, that means everybody pays less. No, it means some people pay less and some people pay more,
depending on how much they use.
It's making it so. But it's making it so we all have to have the same, exact same groceries in our grocery cart. This is, that's not how it works when it comes to
groceries. Are not covered by common carrier status under any circumstances except when they are shipped. And when they are shipped, again, you get a package of groceries coming to you via Amazon.com. The UPS delivers it, and they're going to charge based on weight, not based on whether you're ordering, fancy Turkish figs or canned beans.
Tom, what I don't understand here is I don't understand what. If I think that, when you talk about government, it's funny because I know one of the other topics we'd considered talking about as a part of this is what has happened in terms of states and localities working together with business to limit competition in the broadband. I think that one of the problems with all this is that you need to recognize that when government gets involved, the government doesn't always, do the right thing. We want to have competition.
But government often does do the right thing, Carrie.
Okay, it sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but there should be, you should have a real reason to have government come in and say, this business can't offer this type of service. And I just don't understand why it is, what it is that we're so afraid of to allow companies to offer people different packages.
I'm afraid of Comcast. I'll tell you right now. I've got, Comcast is Comcast and Verizon are our two internet service providers here in Washington D.C. and our service sucks. And when we try to get any kind of help from them, we get blown off. We're paying 5 times what they pay in France for 1/3 the speed. I'm afraid of these big corporations. That's why I want my government to protect me from them.
Okay, and so you think the government is going to come in and run things better than the private?
No, the government's not going to run them. If government says that telephone calls are part of common carrier status, or trucking freight or goods or vegetables or whatever, it's common carrier status, or the internet is common carrier status, all that means is that the trucking company can't say we're going to charge you more because we think we can get more out of you because of what you're shipping. The telephone company can't charge you more because we think we can get more out of you based on who you're talking to. Gee, she really likes to talk to her mom. Let's charge her more for talking to mom. We'll make that the mom plan. And similarly, if you're going to go on the internet, you can't charge you more just because you want to visit the Independent Women's Forum at IWF.org.
So, I'm flabbergasted by this. So what I don't understand, if we need to think about how to make a more competitive marketplace when it comes to having more providers.
Right. But there's a great way to do that.
So do you think that government's going to come in and create a better internet? How are private companies going to invest in the infrastructure that we know it needs to be able to maintain broadband?
The way that they do in South Korea and France and countries all over the world. The easy way to do that is to, just like with the phone companies, say you're a common carrier, which also, and I would add to it, any internet service provider can go over anybody else's copper.
And Tom, I find it strange. We always have this conversation about Europe being this paradise, and I am living still in Europe. I'm in Berlin, and it is there's many lovely things about it. But I don't know why we would think. I've spent a lot of time in France. I lived in Belgium, and I had lots of internet problems. There's very little competition, and things broke all the time. It's not better than what the service I certainly had in Washington D.C. I don't think it's this paradise of when you walk around Europe, you don't think, wow, everything is working like clockwork here.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take your word for it, Carrie. Maybe I shouldn't use that argument. But anyhow, Carrie, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Carrie Lukas, the Managing Director of the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.org, the author of Liberty is No War on Women. Thank you, Carrie, for dropping by.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.
And say hi to Deutschland for me.